Good morning, Internet. Today I will be giving you my thoughts and overview of ESL Pro League Season 16 Group A, so you should have easier time choosing which games to watch. Of course, these are just my thoughts on the matter, and there is much more to take in consideration than what I'm about to say, such as your personal schedule and teams you like to watch. But this overview is not here to tell you what you should watch, but rather help you choose the games with the most potential to be actually entertaining games to watch. So all that being said, let's get started. The overview of the tournament. ESL Pro League Season 16 follows the typical ESL Pro League format. Each team of the group will play one best of 3 against each other. There are a total of 4 groups, each hosting 6 different teams. All of the teams will play a total of 5 games during the group stage. Winner of each game will net 3 points, while the loser gets no points at all. Maximum point you can reach is 15 and minimum is 0. After each team has faced against all of the teams in the group, teams will be ranked from 1 to 6 based on their points. In case two teams share equal points, the ranking will be based on the game between the two teams, and in games multiple teams share the same points, the ranking is decided based on the round difference, which means the ratio between won and lost rounds during the tournament. As an example, if a team wins 2 games 16 to 10, their round difference will be 6 plus 6 equals 12. Based on the final ranking, the number 1 team will go directly to quarterfinals, while the teams ranked 2 and 3 of each group will have to play playoff round 1 to find out the final 4 quarterfinal teams. Group A is played between Wednesday 31st of August and Sunday 4th of September. The teams playing in Group A are Navi, NIP, Vitality, Fnatic, Spirit and Endpoint. Navi, NIP and Vitality have all gotten some well-needed practice against other Tier 1 teams after summer break during their blast fall groups. Fnatic, Spirit and Endpoint have had less encounters against Tier 1 teams, but they have been busy during the Armored qualifiers. Fnatic has also recently replaced Heap with Fasher, so this will be a good test to see how their new lineup is actually shaping up. Before we continue the individual matchups, there is some information that people could find interesting about this format. Since each match is on paper just as important as every other match, we often see some interesting upsets very early on. Many larger teams might lack the mental pressure to be on their A game from the get-go, while the underdogs tend to be like sharks smelling blood on the water when the tournament starts. For this reason, we very often see team or two who should perform very well from the start actually have a hard time, while one or two underdogs tend to give very difficult time for these top dogs. Keeping this in mind, the first 2 rounds are often the most difficult to predict, and these tend to have high chance of upsets to happen. If you love watching underdogs outperform the favorites, then the games of Wednesday and Thursday might be of your interest. However, if you are interested in watching the group favorites play at their best, then the last 2 to 3 days, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, should offer more interesting games to watch. By this time, the top dogs are often full awake and ready to game at their full capacity. Similarly, any potential upset in earlier rounds now put the pressure on their shoulders, which often brings the best out of experienced teams. All that being said, let's move to the individual matchups. Wednesday 31st, Navi Spirit 12:30 PM or 12:30 UTC plus 2. On paper, Navi should be the clear favorite of this matchup, and thus make a swift work of the Spirit. However, given this is the first day of the group and matchup is between two CIS teams, it might just be the opener to watch. The clashes between two CIS teams rarely disappoint, especially when most of the CIS squads seem to look up to Navi squads. Nothing seems to motivate a player more than playing against their idols, wanting to prove their own worth, taking down the giants they look up to. Simply for this reason, I predict this game to be an entertaining one and worth a watch. Vitality, Endpoint 4 PM or 16:00 UTC plus 2. Given the recent showing of Vitality in blast fall groups, Endpoint is a clear underdog of the match and arguably of the group. Endpoint has a good track record of raising new up and coming stars, but this rarely shows in their success in tournaments. Most of the promising players tend to get snatched off before any clear success has been reached, so it remains to be seen if this current lineup can change this trajectory at all. However, in my eyes, this matchup is the least interesting of the day. NIP Fnatic 7:30 PM or 19:30 UTC+2. Two historical Swedish organizations going against one another should be great time for the fans of either of these Swedish organizations. But sadly, the changes making Fnatic and the international team have not gone over nicely. Rivalry between the two orgs can definitely bring some entertaining CS, and this could indeed be a worthy game to relax with after a long day at work, but it does require some Fnatic magic to happen. Thursday 1st, Spirit Endpoint 12:30 PM and 12:30 UTC+2. This game involves the two teams which are generally expected to place in the lower half of the group. The names on the server might not be the most interesting ones, but that's exactly what makes the game so interesting. If one or both of the teams got a good start on Wednesday, they might want to continue this for the best chance to make up an upset placement in the top 3 of the group. I suspect this could be a rather scrappy but entertaining match to follow during your lunch break. Navi Fnatic 4 PM or 16:00 UTC+2. For Fnatic to show any resistance, they would have to bank for a slow start from Navi. On paper, this game should not be an issue for Navi, and likely will be a quick 2-0 for them. This game can lead to an upset given it's only day 2 of the group, but it does not seem worth taking time off from any sort of chores or work shifts. NIP Vitality, 7:30 PM, 19:30 UTC+2. Now, this is the game most fans would find entertaining to watch. Both NIP and Vitality have already faced one another in Blast Fall, and most likely both teams will come prepared for this matchup. Vitality is on paper the favorite of the matchup, but NIP has real potential to take the cake. All in all, a great match to sit down, relax after a long day at work. Friday 2nd. Navi Endpoint 12:30 PM, 12:30 UTC+2. This game puts the group favorite Navi against arguably the group's biggest underdog, Endpoint. Even if Navi had a slow start to the tournament, by this point they should be fully away, and are likely to make quick work of Endpoint. Not a match you should leave your work for early, but then again, anything can happen. NIP Spirit 4 PM 16:00 UTC+2. To me, this game has a lot of upset potential from Spirit. CIS teams should never be underestimated, and even though NIP stands the favorite to win this game, this might just be the game that will either make or break a underdog run of Team Spirit. Since Navi, Vitality and NIP are the three favorites of the group, if Spirit has had a good start to the group stages, a win over NIP could push them on the top 3 of the group. A game I would rate highly worth a watch, unless of course Spirit has started their tournament very poorly and has not shown any potential this far. Vitality Fnatic 7:30 PM 19:30 UTC+2. A game with upset potential, but sadly Friday evening of Group A looks to be the most underwhelming evening game. That's not to say this game can't deliver, but if you have watched the previous evening games and are planning on watching the evening games of Saturday and Sunday, I would not skip going out with your friends if they ask you to. Vitality and Fnatic can turn out as an interesting game, but it might as well turn out to be rather dull 2-0 for the favorite of Vitality. Saturday 3rd. NAP Endpoint 12:30 PM, 12:30 UTC+2. Saturday starts with a game between NAP and Endpoint, and if the Group A has played as expected, this game won't likely be a high priority compared to the later games. NAP should be the expected favorite, and most likely will not struggle too much against Endpoint. Fnatic Spirit 4 PM 16:00 UTC+2. The intensity of this matchup likely depends on how the previous games have gone for either of the teams. If Fnatic or Spirit is contending of a top 3 spot in the group, then this game has chances to be an entertaining one, as now there are stakes involved. However, if neither of the teams are in realistic chance of advancing to the top 3 and thus playoffs, most likely this game won't be of any high intensity. Navi Vitality 7:30 PM or 19:30 UTC+2. Saturday starts a little bit underwhelmingly, but the end of the day game offers arguably the two teams with the highest expectations to advance. I would recommend watching this game because there is a chance it will be deciding how the group number 1 and number 2 spots are distributed. Of course, this might not be the case, but even if not, it is likely going to offer entertaining game to watch regardless. I highly recommend a best of 3 between these two teams. Even if it would be a duo series, we are likely to witness some fun and entertaining rounds. Sunday 4th. Now, the games on Sunday are all played at the same time, 7:30 p.m. or 19:30 UTC plus 2. This is so that no team would already know the results of other games, thus having less motivation to play well, for example, because they already secured a spot in playoff or know that they no longer have a chance to advance. This makes selecting the game to watch tricky. On paper, most competitive teams are clashing in the game Navi and NIP, but this by no means is the only game worth watching. Vitality Spirit is the game with potential to either make or break Spirit's underdog run in case they are off the one. It could also steal Vitality's position on the rankings and perhaps save or doom the fate of Navi or NIP. Fnatic and Endpoint are not likely in contention for a playoff spot, but they recently faced each other in an RMR qualifier, so a payback game could be on the books here. Since it can be hard to select a game to watch, here is my verdict on which ones to choose. Watch a game with the highest stakes. Let's say NIP has to win Navi to advance to top 3. This would immediately make the game between Navi and NIP an entertaining one to watch. Better yet, perhaps Vitality and Spirit are fighting off the last spot to advance to playoffs. Winner is in, loser is out. This kind of scenario would be sure to give us some entertaining scenes to watch, and I would therefore prioritize it over the other two games. Of course, if you have a favorite team you like to watch, you can always open their game and are likely getting your money's worth of CS. Just know the most memorable moments tend to come from high-stakes games, and fighting of a last spot to advance is as high stakes as ESL Pro League group stage get. I hope this guide has been helpful to you. If you like this content, be sure to let me know by liking the video or leaving a comment down below. If you didn't like the comment or have some feedback, let me know by disliking the video or leaving a comment below. I intend on doing similar guide to the other group stages, so be sure to subscribe and tune in again next week. And in the off chance I am unable to make a video, be sure to follow me on Twitter @CasualStrike for my shorter thoughts about what to watch. All that being said, enjoy the tournament.